Hello, my dear friends, lovely audiences, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. My dear fellow Angelinos, today the subject is talking about our LA as a county. LA County, one of the biggest, maybe the biggest county of the United States. And we're talking about we need a right man for the job. On the job, we see for the past few years, not a lot of satisfactions. We don't know why. Probably a change of a hand will help. I don't know. I never know. But the elections will tell, right? Speaking about elections, you're talking about this next June, right? And we have lots of big stuff to take care of that by them. Today, joining me is my good friend, the one I support, Mr. Bob Lindsay, former commander, one of the 16 of the LASD for 32 years, and with condensed 28 years in leadership position. To Bob, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir.
How do you like my lead line?
I love it.
Very good. Okay. Before I touch the glorious part, though, I'm gonna give you a hardball to play. The hardball being that now, with the so frequently happening terrorist attack. Okay, now we're talking about October 1st, right? And then October 31st, and then November the 5th. It's getting more and more frequent in a more condensed way, in a more unbearable way. So how do you, as a man with the job on the shoulder, will read the situation, will do the job, and how, and you want to tell our audiences what to do, so on and so forth. For that to start, like I said, let's put aside the glorious part. We talk about the hardball, please.
Sure. It's a very complicated subject, but I will tell you this, that when you're going out into the community, you as a family, that you always have to be vigilant about where you are and where you're walking and who's walking around you. You need to pay attention. You know, these guys, when they come out, when they go to a mall or they go to a park or they're driving a truck and running people over, you will see things happen. Like take, for instance, in New York, that person had to go around and get onto that sidewalk, right? And then he's running people over. People aren't expecting that to happen. They have headphones on.
Yeah, you're right.
They're not listening. They're not
That's
not
a killer.
looking.
That's a killer, yes.
And so you just have to remain vigilant about who is around you, because you know what? Wherever we go, there are usually places to hide. And you don't want to hide behind a little wall like this. You want to hide behind something concrete, behind a car, not just behind a car, behind the engine block of the car.
I
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Because the bullets will go right through the car.
I see.
So you want to hide behind where the engine is.
The engine, you're talking about the heavy-duty metal.
That's right.
That would block the bullet going through.
That's exactly what it would do.
I
and
see.
you want to be behind the tire too. You don't, because you know when bullets, and this may be too much information, but when bullets hit concrete, they don't go like this and then up like this. They hit the concrete and slide along the concrete. So if you are laying behind a car, the bullet literally can hit the concrete and slide right into you. So you have to be careful how you're doing that.
I see. All right. That reminds me, how about if I, on behalf of EDI, put up a forum?
That would be great.
And we call a bunch of folks over here. And are you volunteer? You will be a volunteer doing an explanation, telling the pinpoints, the details about how our folks may protect themselves or stay alive before enforcement arrives, right?
Of course, I would love to do a seminar for anybody who wanted to be there.
Very good. My dear audiences, probably while we're on it, we want to talk about it, right?
Sure.
So if you would... Okay, we will probably pick up a day on my schedule. I see mid part of December open, and you and I will exchange quite an info and find a date, and we'll advertise it. We'll let the audiences know. We'll advertise both here through the radio, through the magazine, let people know. Come over here for those important and useful tips.
Yes.
All right.
And of course, I would ask the community too, when they see something that they think isn't normal, say something.
All right.
Okay, don't just,
Okay. All right.
call,
Very good. Very
pick
good.
up the phone, call.
And of course. That's why I say that I like Bob, because Bob cares about you, cares about me. This is myself. In other words, I'm being selfish. I'm talking about my own safety, right? Because I'm included. I'm not a New Yorker or straight. I'm here, an Angelino here.
But I know you well enough to know that you care about them.
Oh yeah, sure.
That's why you do what you do.
I do care about my audience, so we're on the same boat. But still back to the tips though. You can hide behind concrete walls or a pole or something.
Right.
Yeah, a block or something. And how about trees?
Trees are good. I mean, as long as it's not a little branch, but you get something that can, and you want to cover the main parts of your body. You want your head covered. You want your chest covered.
All right.
I mean, if you got shot in the leg or the foot, I mean, you'd live.
You still live, right?
But you want to cover your main vital organs.
Which is from here above.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
okay. And you just mentioned about tires of a truck or car or whatever. The bigger the better, though. When a bullet hits the rubber tire, though, does it go through or bounce?
It can, but it'll slow it down. So, and especially if it's on a rim, if it hits that rim, the metal part of it, then it's going to go ahead and it's going to, most bullets will begin to disintegrate as they hit something. And they take a different form on, let's just put it that way. But any time a bullet hits something, it slows it down. Now, if it were to go through plastic or something like that, it's not going to slow it down very much.
I see.
But when you go through heavy rubber, when you go through metal, concrete, it won't go through some of those things.
What if I get underneath the car or underneath their truck, preferably?
Well, that doesn't help you too much. I mean, it helps you hide, but depending on where the shooter is. Now, if the shooter is up high, then that would probably be very good. If the shooter is down low, he's going to be able to shoot right under the car.
Anyway, right?
Right.
So you mentioned about if it hits the ground and it slide away, though. And in that case, I described it does hit the ground and slide away, and you're underneath, you get shot.
Right.
So
that is correct. That's true.
In other words, you're recommending not to do what I said. To get underneath a car or something.
Like if you're behind a car, and you're not behind the tire, you're just how it's open under a car.
Oh, okay.
Then you wouldn't want to lay down. You would want to just squat so that if the bullet came under, it would get your foot.
I see.
Or something like that. But if you lay down, now what have we exposed? We've
exposed yourself. The whole thing.
We've exposed our vital organs again.
I see. Those are really quite useful tips. Suppose, mostly we're talking about so far is on the street though. Suppose you're in Walmart, right?
Sure.
You're shopping, and there comes something, shooting. Okay, in a situation, in the environment like Walmart or Kmart or whatever, what do you want to do before the enforcement arrive?
You want to get out. Here's a fact. If there's a mass shooting, and somebody comes in, it's usually over in 5 minutes. It takes 5 minutes for it to be over. Okay.
All right.
In 5 minutes, a lot of shots can be fired. A lot of people can get hurt. Do you know that the average response time throughout the state or throughout the United States is 11 minutes for policemen to get there?
There's no way you can get help right away.
It typically won't happen unless you happen to have somebody there. Let's say it's a Walmart with security. Well, you may have a security guard there. But if we're talking about police response, normally when a police officer arrives, they don't just run in. They wait for support. So it's not just the first car that gets there. They're going to wait for support, and then they're going to go in as a team.
I see.
And then they will fix the problem. They will take care of it, and they're very good at what they do.
But the thing is that unless it is coincidentally
Right.
a squad is there at that very moment and they hear a gunshot and you get them right away, like almost the case like San Bernardino, they have somebody, a squad hanging on that area, right? That's why they responded, say, like within 3 minutes or something, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or otherwise, within 5 minutes or even longer, you are pretty much on yourself. Am I right?
You're on your own. You're on your own. You have to have the will to survive. You have to know how to survive.
Yes.
You have to have a plan
I see.
on what to do. I mean, look at this church. That person went
the
in.
Texas, Winston County.
I believe it's 26.
Yeah, 27.
Is it 27?
Last check, yeah.
With the baby. With the baby in the womb. And when you start thinking about the fear that they must have had, when somebody comes in and begins shooting people, typically, you can't reason with them. In other words, you can't say, please don't shoot me.
Yeah, no argument.
There's no argument. You have to be moving. You have to try and get out. You have to get gone, or you have to barricade yourself
In the church, though, they sat on a pew by pew by pew, so where to go? There's nowhere to go almost.
Well, sometimes, and like you said, maybe you're going to climb under. You know, you're going to do whatever you have to do to try and make any type of bullet have to go through something before it gets to you.
I see. So, the more you and I talk, the more I feel that you got job to do on your shoulder. Now that you are candidating the campaign, and now that people need somebody who can take care of them, now people need somebody who can advise them what to do. There are lots kind of situation. How about if I, on behalf of my audience, invite you and your team, right? Work out all as possible, as many as possible scenarios in certain locations, in certain kind of a setting whatsoever. If something happens, this is what you want to do, this is what you want to do. Teach them, educate them.
Yeah, we would love to do that. You know, one of the things that everybody needs to be aware of is that anywhere you go, it's a potential target. You know, there's a lot of places. Have you ever seen the places that say gun safe zone?
No.
No guns allowed?
They say smoking free. I see them.
You see smoke. Okay. I know
Smoke
why you
free.
see that.
Yeah. All right. Good.
But
all right, my dear. 1 second, please. I want to save it for next segment because this is really important for us to learn from my friend Bob Lindsay the tips to keep alive, to stay alive. My friend Bob Lindsay is the candidate for LA County SD Sheriff for the sheriff job, because for the past few years we fail to see satisfactions like we used to, and their job needs to be done. And versus the fact that we have AB 109 leading lots of crazy laws that had the criminals released on the street, we are much less safer than before. Plus, another plus, huge plus. In a situation when we hear this many frequently happened attacks by terrorist attacks or lone wolf act, whatever, act is act, right? Yes. Attack is attack. So we are even down to the safe zone, right? So let's take a very short moment now. When we come back, I do have to detailize the whole thing, to plan a meeting or a forum or a classroom for that. Stay with us, please. Hello, my lovely friends, my dear audiences. Welcome back to the show. Like I said, my dear fellow Angelinos, we're talking about Los Angeles as a county. And with me today is my good friend, Bob Lindsay, a former commander, one of the 16 of LA County Sheriff Department. Right. Yes, Bob has been there for 32 years, and there are condensed of 28 years on the leadership position. He knows the job, he knows the whole thing, he knows every corner of the room. In other words, in my term, he knows even the hinge on the door, something like that. So we are, while he's campaigning, we will take off some of his busy schedule to form a forum or discussion or a Q&A stuff.
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
to release the information, because, after 32 years on the job, though, you must have accumulated tons of knowledge as how to keep alive.
Our priority needs to be keeping people safe.
Keeping people safe. All right, go. So tip by tip, I believe even today's show, when they started, they heard, about campaign, all right, okay. Now, when they started to see, oh my God, about tips, oh, honey, come over, there are tips. They will do that.
Sure.
That is so important, so vital, right? So now, you're saying that in an environment like a Walmart, like a church gathering, right? And I describe it, people on the pews, one pew after pew, all the way, right? So it's a whole room full of people. And when you want to get out, you have either climb over or swing by. There's no way, of course. Everybody wants to get out. Must be a huge, huge mess.
It is a mess.
That's the only thing, the only chance of survival in that situation is get underneath.
Well, getting underneath or getting out of the building completely. When you're in a mass area like that, and I will say this, there are more and more churches now, more and more hiring armed security.
Okay.
In fact, many churches actually have armed security inside the churches that you don't even know are there.
That's a good move.
It is a great move because you know what? Churches, schools, malls, they're all targets. I was mentioning to you before, if you go to Starbucks, Starbucks has a thing on there typically that says gun-free zone. Nobody's supposed to bring a gun in there, including an off-duty police officer. The military recruitment stations, gun-free zone. Remember the shooting we had where they went to the reserve recruiting place?
Yeah, you're right.
And they shot? Why? Because there's nobody in there that has a gun. So we need...
Even the pissed off officer would get out of mind or something.
Well, you're not supposed to carry it in.
Yeah, okay. Very good.
And I understand why. Schools don't want guns coming into the school.
All right.
But what we need are the right people carrying guns into the school.
To your
so
protection.
That if somebody comes in that shouldn't have one, they can protect the kids. They can protect the children. They can protect the teachers.
Very good. Or probably we can put this as one of the subjects that you want to discuss with the audiences I want to put together. Say, you want to probably make it a call to church organizations, really religious organizations, or even to schools, whoever. Call them, try to find out funds or fundings for some necessary security guards with weapons to protect the participators, right? The participants.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
So otherwise, like I wrote to my friends, okay, try to prevent going to church or whatever, right? It is against God.
That's not what we want. We don't want people to quit going to church.
Right.
What we want are bad people not to come to our churches. But let's face this. We'll never stop them from coming to our churches.
All right, okay.
We're not going to be able to stop them.
We're not giving up.
Now, as the sheriff, it's my job to get intelligence. It's my job to research. It's my job to find them before they do this.
All right.
But we can't do that every time.
Yeah.
So we're going to have people come to the places that we enjoy the most, places that we bring our kids and our families to. And that's where we need to be conscientious. We have to, as mothers, as fathers, we have to be prepared to protect our kids. And so we have to watch, we have to look, we have to see who's coming. If you see somebody walking across a mall parking lot with a rifle, that's not good.
Yeah, of course.
Where are they going? They're probably going into that mall because they're going to start shooting people. That's when you get on the phone. You be safe, but you get on the phone and say, there's a man with a gun going into the mall.
You know, Bob, I really like the fact that you claim it your job. Yeah. I respect you. I like you because you're a friend of mine, and I respect for that professionalism.
Thank you.
You take it and say, go ahead, I claim it as my job, right? Once taking office, even more your job. Because nobody else's job is your job, right? Okay. Now, when doing that, in order to do that, okay, now, there are lots of ways. So far, it sounds to me, you have mentioned about prevention, because you try to do as much as you can to stop it before it happens.
That's right.
However, you're not every time that lucky, right? Right.
No,
And
you
it's hard to
can't.
do so.
Definitely.
Number two, while happening, you're teaching people before your enforcement arrive, your rescuer arrive, there are tips that can keep you alive or mitigate the situation.
That's right.
Right? And number three, you encourage people by doing your job, you encourage people to see something, say something.
That's right.
Right? I believe if somebody plans on killing that many, he must show something. Right? The face must not look the same like mine.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
If you
Not
say,
nobody has that sweet a face.
oh, thank you very much. You're so nice, though. And how do you think, if I gather some people for that forum, what kind of people? Because, here, when I make a call, people will come. And plus, this is related to their lives,
Sure.
to their own safety,
Yes.
right? So, what kind of people do you think I can gather for you, for that group, for that forum, to let the message out for the best effect?
All people, and as long as they're at a learning age, wherein it's not something that will scare them. Let's face it, this is real life. Okay, certain young kids, 5 or 6, we don't want to scare them and have them.
Oh,
have
you're
nightmares.
right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
They don't need to know these things, but the parents do need to know. Because when
Yeah.
they're walking with these kids and they're going
You're
somewhere,
right.
they need to know that doesn't look right. We're going to go this way instead of that way. And they need to be looking for places where they could hide or places they could get out. The parent needs to do that. The kids need to be kids.
Yeah.
And they always will be.
You're right. You're right.
But that's what we need to do. We need to protect them.
What hurts me most is that part.
It does.
Is that part, because they're supposed to enjoy life. They're supposed to enjoy their childhood, though, and yet we have to tell them some bad stories.
You know what this guy did in Tennessee, and it was on the news? When he walked into that church, the first people he killed were the people doing the actual videotaping. He killed them first, and then anybody who said a word, anybody who was screaming, and some of the first people he killed were the kids. Because they were screaming and they were upset or they were crying.
Yeah.
These are the things. You can't deal with somebody like that.
Yeah.
Somebody that has that much hate in them, you can't deal with them, but you have to be prepared for them.
Yeah, that's quite a pain. That's a quite hurting. And another word, can we claim that as also one of the tips to not say a thing or cry or make a sound or utter a sound or whatever?
Well,
Try to
I
be
don't think so.
quiet.
People are going to be afraid. Anytime something like that happens, people are going to be scared.
Yeah.
You know what? When I've been shot at multiple times in my career.
All right.
And so for me, when things happen, because I've been in that business for 32 years, it's different. Take, for instance, the Las Vegas incident at the country festival.
All right, okay.
There were many people there who had never, ever been in a position where they've seen anything like that. You know what? They're locking themselves in their houses still. They went through such a trauma that now they don't even want to come out of their house.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody
They're
handles,
so traumatized.
everybody handles the situation differently depending on how much training they have. And that's why when somebody comes into a church like that, or somebody comes into a market or a movie theater, if you already know what you're thinking, if you already know what you plan to do, it's different than if you go, oh my God,
All right,
what am I
okay.
supposed to do?
Yeah.
Because then you panic. But if you already have a plan,
Okay.
your mind works on that plan rather than on the fear.
Sure. And the other day I was interviewing Joe Gardner. You know Joe Gardner of West Covina? He was a former Santa Monica PD officer. And he says that during many years of on the job, he has formed a habit of everywhere he enters into an environment, he look around for the exits or emergency exit where everything is. Do you think we may go ahead and learn that, copy that, and introduce it to our audiences?
Of course, and when you step through a door, one of the first things that we learn is you'll step through a door and you'll step to a side. You don't want to be in the light of the door. You don't want to be right there in the middle of that door. So you want to move over where you're less perceived, where people can't see you as well, where you're not lit up as well, and things like that. So there's a lot to learn. And it's unfortunate that the public has to learn this.
My dear friends, today we really like this opportunity that we have an expert for 32 years on public safety and security, talking about public safety and security. He is my friend, my dear friend, my brother, Bob Lindsay, a candidate for LA County Sheriff Department for the sheriff. Reason being that we stopped seeing some satisfactions as we used to see. We need a better hand. Oh, by the way, I myself is a supporter of Bob. That's why I'm wearing Bob's shirt. Okay.
Thank you, John.
Bob himself doesn't wear a shirt. Are you not supporting yourself or what?
No. I have them. I just switch
He's
clothes.
got a job to do, right? He's the one doing the job. We'll be right back. Peace. Hello, my dear friends, my lovely audiences. Welcome back to the show, my dear fellow Angelinos, my dear fellow Americans. Welcome back to the show. As a matter of fact, it is one of the very, very useful discussion. Normally, when I plan or event, I plan myself. I plan with a bunch of folks of my own, though. I've never been actually planning an event in front of camera. We're planning it, right?
There's always a first.
Yeah, we're talking about it as we're planning it as we do the show. You know what? While talking about that, when you started with the tips, right?
Sure.
It came upon me right away, say, hey, let's do something. Let's do something, let the community members know that. And then it came upon me that what if I gather a group of people, right, representing each part, right, each area, different areas, and you and your team come here and say, number 1, 2, 3, 4, make a rule, make a checklist or so ever, and then by then we will do some kind of we will form them into some good habit to keep them happy, right?
Yes, absolutely. You know, the community has so much to give to everything. You know, there was a burglary in my neighborhood, and there was a car parked out in front of a house.
All right.
And one of the neighbors said, gee, I don't think that car belongs there. And they just took down the license plate. They didn't think much about it. But later that day, when the owners got home, they found out their house had been burglarized. And the neighbor goes, hey, I saw that car out there. I didn't know who they were.
Yes.
Gave it to the police. The police went and did a search warrant on the house, and they find not only all of the items out of that house, they solved 4 other burglaries because they had been burglarizing the entire area.
It was just because one curiosity pair of eye got the license plate down. That's it.
It's because that neighborhood protects itself. And that's really what this is all about. We need to protect ourselves. We need to protect our neighborhood, our churches. We need to always be thinking of how we can protect ourselves.
In other words, it goes to the third category. People see something, say something.
Yes.
And then, of course, do something.
Of course. And things that you may not even think, well, hey, I'll just copy that down. They just thought, I don't remember that car being there.
Yeah. And this also gives me a thinking of the task force, of the minority group task forces, which were canceled already.
Right.
So, and I remember the other day I was talking to Tom Yu.
Yes.
For Tom Yu, he mentioned about
retired detective.
Retired detective, and he mentioned that with those task forces, you do not have to run a separate system. It's still the same system. However, you are suddenly increased with hundreds of more pair of eyes, pair of ears that looks around, that listens around, without which you have to double or triple your team.
Well, you know what? You said it best. You said, see something, say something. That task force is who you said it to.
Yeah.
You see something, you would tell the task force.
Yeah.
And that task force was prepared to go take care of it. Now you see something and you say something,
to who?
You have to call a desk.
Yeah.
You call the desk, and the desk then does their best
All right.
to dispatch cars or to do whatever they do, but it's just another call. For this task force, it wasn't just another call for service. They were able to take that call and connect it with all of their knowledge to everything that was happening in that community, and it became, it's like if you're raising a child. Somebody throws a temper tantrum. Well, you know how to treat your child.
All right.
Do they throw that temper tantrum all the time? Or is this the first time they've ever done it? Maybe they have a sticker in their foot. Maybe they're hurt right now, and that's why they're crying so hard.
All right.
You understand? So you know how to tell things by simply knowing the people you're working with, or that you live with, or that you love.
Like in the old lady's case, that the car doesn't belong here. I've never seen that car. Why is it parked there, right? There's something like that.
That's right.
That will help. That will help. And my dear audience, today with this many tips, I believe that if somebody take a note, oh, by the way, there is always reruns. Don't worry about it. Because my shows are so good, there's always reruns, okay? I am recognized sometime on the street. Oh, you are the one. Yeah, I'm the one, right? I'm the one doing the right job.
That's right.
I need to look for a one that I support to do the job as the LA County Sheriff.
Yes, sir.
Right? There are lots of more job to do. The more you and I talk, the more job to do, right? Especially, like I said, we had 2+, right? Now, I mean, normally when we talk about 5 + 4, right? We're talking about adding, right? Now we have negative plus, right? We have 5. We have a negative plus of AB 109, which releases the bad guys on the street. They are all around, they mingled with us. This is the plus minus. I mean, minus plus, number 1. And number 2, we have this situation with this terrorist attack that happening so often. That's why, my dear audiences, I have my friend Bob Lindsay here. Regardless if he's running or not, I will have him here because he has a knowledge, right, about how to keep happy. Okay, now, in addition to the 3 you mentioned, right, is there anything else that you want to advise our audiences who are the members of community to keep in mind so that they will stay alive in a situation of that?
Well, there's different types of attacks. Some of them are terrorists, literal terrorists who come over here and want to kill us just because we're Americans.
All right, okay, all right.
And then there are some people like this Tennessee shooting where he was mad at somebody.
Pissed off the guys.
He was mad at a domestic situation, and he went to that church because he was mad at certain people, and then he took it out on everybody.
About a year ago, there was a barber. There was a beauty salon, right? And the wife was a hairdresser or something. The guy went in. Remember, that was the incident. Right. Same nature. Yes.
And so that's what I'm saying. So we've been talking about in the public, but I want everybody who has a job at a business or anywhere else, you have to pay attention to the dynamics of the business. When somebody gets fired, they're not going to be happy. When somebody's having problems, when there's relationships in the business that break up, these are all signals that something could happen. Could, doesn't mean it will.
Oh, yeah.
But it could.
It could
and
happen,
these are things that we need to pay attention to. So if somebody gets fired and then you see them drive up into the parking lot, well, guess what?
Yeah, something will
You
happen.
might want to say something really fast because they shouldn't be here.
Okay, all right, okay. I see what you mean. I see where you're from. You're kind of making it, trying to take care of it from the upper end.
Yes.
Right? From the upper end, say, okay, now at firing, you want to make the guy, make it matter, understood, make it so legit that even you can convince the guy being fired, right? Because that's the only way to do. You don't want to do to worsen the situation, to get the guy totally upset, get him out of his mind, so he started doing the extreme.
Right. Well, there's ways to do that, but even so, even if you're the nicest boss in the world and you fire them in the nicest way in the world, they may still come back.
There are still rebounds.
They may still come back because you know what? When you look at their life, maybe that means they're going to lose their house. Maybe that means they're going to not be able to buy food. Maybe it may mean a lot of things to them.
All right, okay.
Okay, so those are the things we have to pay attention to because people think differently. Don't always think that everybody thinks like you do.
Yeah.
We have to figure out how are they thinking.
All right. Okay, now, we touched the theater, we touched the churches, we touched the Walmart, like the department stores, so on and so forth. And other than that, for example, we're going to a concert, like Monday, right? Okay. In a concert, in the theater, or whatever environment, though, it's not in the open like we had in public. When I walk in, I want to first look around for. Now I'm not looking for restroom.
No, not yet.
I'm looking for the exit, right?
Right, that's right.
So you're saying that you want to start to look for exit the moment you get in.
That's right. You want to look for exits. What kind of tables are they? Are they tables that can be flipped over? Like this here. Can I flip this over so that if somebody's shooting, I can get behind it?
Oh, yeah. At least it slows down the bullet.
This slows down the bullet. So, so if they started shooting, the first thing I would want to do is protect myself, right?
All right, okay.
And then, if they moved off to the side, I'd want to get out.
Yeah, okay.
Or, remember this too, and this is something people don't remember, but police officers do know this. When they're reloading, you have time.
Yeah.
They have to reload. So if they shoot, some guns have 8 rounds, 6 rounds, some have 16. But when you shoot, when the shooting stops and it appears that they're trying to reload, that's a good time to try and get out.
Oh, that gives me another hint. Once you do the seminar, though, bring some kind of image whatsoever with a certain type of weapon. Say, this weapon reloads every whatever shots.
Yeah, we can show them different types of
Yeah,
guns,
different type
right.
of, some kind of representative weapons, right? So people will know this guy either can count the shots, or judging by the time the guy needs to reload. As soon as it stops, that's a reload time, start running like that.
Yeah, most often the public, the people aren't going to be able to count the shots. A lot of times police officers don't even count the shots, even though they're trained to do it.
But in a certain environment,
but when you hear it stopping, that's a time where you want to begin thinking, okay, this may be the time to go.
All right. For a good hand at shooting, though, how long, how many seconds or a minute needs to reload? I never know guns.
Well, it depends. It could be very fast. It may only take them 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds to reload, depending on where they keep their reloads. Every person that comes in, if they're coming in to try and hurt a lot of people, they're going to have several magazines or clips, whatever you want to call them. And so they'll carry them in their pockets, they'll carry them wherever they are. It only takes this long. This is what you do. You press a button, and it falls out of the gun. Then all you have to do is take it and put it back in.
2 seconds.
That's how fast it is. So the most time is him trying to find it wherever it is on his body. Does that make sense?
I see.
So that he has to get it, then he has to do that.
I see. All right. Okay, my dear audience. Today we are really talking about some useful tips, the hints. With me is my good friend Bob Lindsay, candidate for LASD County Sheriff, and I'm in support. I believe lots of my supporters, my fans, go that way already.
Yes. Thank you.
Stay with us.
Thank you.
I will be right back. Hello, my dear friends, my lovely audiences. Welcome back to the discussion about our safety, community safety. and it was scheduled to talk about some tips when something happens, when the worst thing happens. You really have a very, very short time to make sure that you keep yourself alive before law enforcement officers gets to your support, right? With me is my good friend, Mr. Bob Lindsay. Bob Lindsay was a former LASD commander, one of the 610. That's a very, 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 very top position. And his experience in LASD for 32 years with a condensed 28 years, glorious years, of course, each of them, on the leadership job. For several times he was shot at. Well, I would say he won the reputation, he has the experiences gathered, and he has the leadership positions, have him experienced the trend to a point where he can just next minute walk into the office and start to be acting as a county sheriff.
Yes.
Right? So I wish that day happened the way I want it.
Thank you,
right?
Jack.
That's why I support you. And I believe my fans, they will do that. They take what I take.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
You may be a bad apple, but they will. They take what I take. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You have to be good. Now, talking about right now in a situation when terrorist attack happens thus frequently, we really have a tougher job to do, especially law enforcement officers. However, it takes about an average of 11 minutes on a nationwide.
It takes the shootings, the terrorist type shootings usually take maximum 5 minutes for them to do whatever it is they're going to do, kill as many people as they can or hurt as many people as they can. The average response time is 11 minutes.
All right, okay. So in other words, there is quite a gap in between, or even at the moment, it is a inaction. You really want to keep yourself alive, right? So we are getting tips from my friend Bob, and that gives me, and then all of a sudden, an idea. Why don't I just go ahead and arrange a conference? Arrange a forum whatsoever. Bob and his team, you can bring videotapes, you can bring PowerPoint, you can bring even actual guns whatsoever to display to people about those tips. So I'm not doing it for the purpose of doing a show. I am actually planning on it.
You're doing it for the purpose of saving lives.
Okay, very good.
At some point in time, it may not be where we are. We may be on vacation somewhere, and it happens there. Look at how many people lived here and were actually in Las Vegas when that shooting occurred.
Yeah, you're right.
You never know. You just never know where you're going to go, where you're going to be when something like this happens.
So, in other words, to get yourself vigilant.
Yes.
Get yourself prepared for the worst. That is always the way to do.
But don't be scared. We're Americans. We have to live.
Speaking of that, though, our biggest worry is about our kids.
Of course.
On one end, we want them happy.
Yes.
And on the other, we want them alive.
And safe.
Right? So, and safe. So in between, it depends. It is a really hard job to make the judgment how much you want to tell them. Right? The more they know, the more they get scared. The less they know, the less they are safe. Right? So how do you, as a county sheriff, advise your community members to deal with situations, safety versus the child's mind?
You know what? I think now kids grow up way too fast. You know, it used to be we didn't grow up until we were 12. Now they're growing up at 5 and 6. I believe it's very important, and I think very young kids, 5 years old, 6 years old, we begin teaching them what a bad person is.
Okay.
We begin teaching them people shouldn't be touching you in the wrong places.
Okay, right.
You know, because we have to be concerned about our kids going somewhere where somebody will take advantage of them. I think at that point in time, as long as you temper what you're saying, there are bad people out there who may want to do certain things, and that you don't put the fear into them, and you're training them how to protect themselves. There's a delicate way to do it. And I will tell you what, in schools, depending on what school you're in, what is the desk like? Can you flip the desk? Can you get under the desk? Is it metal? Is it not metal? What, so each school is a little bit different, and they're prepared differently. What are our schools teaching our children? That's what our parents need to know. Back when I was going to school, we were training for somebody to come bomb us. We thought that the communists were going to come get us or whatever and bomb us. And that probably wasn't going to happen, but we trained for it, right? Earthquakes, we trained for that. Fallout shelters, we trained for that. Now we're in a different day. We're in a day where we're going to take and have to train ourselves when somebody randomly comes in and wants to hurt us for no reason.
Does that mean sometime we could start thinking about the classroom tables, we put them into metal?
Well, I think a lot of them already are. A lot of them are individual desks. Some of them have longer tables. It just depends on what school you go to.
What you do with kind of steel sheet and then make it form like a tabletop, right? So, and then the time of something worse happened, you flip it over.
Right. A lot of schools are actually buying devices where you can lock the doors, and they can't get in. So there's a lot of people, a lot of schools and a lot of administrators that are looking at safety very closely. And that's a very important thing to do. So what is your school doing? That would be my question.
Yeah, you're right. And it has always come down to administrators that they make decisions to make it tighter inside, looser outside. Right. I mean, relax outside. You don't want to do reverse way. It looks so tension, and the inside there are holes everywhere, right?
That's right. That's right.
So change the table, change the doorknob whatsoever, and even the chairs sometimes can be a weapon, something like that. And how about security? Do you think it is necessary? You mentioned about security to church, though. I mean, security guys, armed security guys, to be precise. Right? How about armed security guys to schools, to at least by the door, by the gate of the school?
Well, you know what? This is what I'm a believer in. I believe that when you give good people guns to protect people, there's nothing wrong with it. When you look at the governor walking around, when you look at all of these political people walking around, they have protection. Why is that? Why do they need protection? Why do they have people following them around with guns? But yet some of them will say, well, guns are no good. Well, you're being followed around by a bunch of guns. Our children have the right to be protected. So if we have a nice security guard, or we have somebody from the sheriff's department or a police department that works there, and there's a lot of programs at the schools, and they have a gun on. I am glad they're there. I am glad they're there, because if somebody comes in there, at least there's one person, one good person who has a gun, except for the bad person coming in with one, right?
Yeah, you're right.
You can't stop somebody with erasers and throwing pencils at them. What you pray and what you hope for is that when this person starts doing something, the police get there as fast as they can.
I'm really, seriously convinced by your example, saying that there goes the governor. There are 3 bodyguards around him, right? 1 in the front and 2 left and right. And the other day I was at the event. When we were at the film festival event. Yes. Our treasurer of California, John Chang, was supposed to go to get there. Before he get there, I got the information of everything. I had to give whole description of everything, and at the end, I learned that he has to have a bodyguard with a piece.
That's right.
Walk in, and that piece has to be registered. That situation had to be registered. I was the one had to do the report to have that gun cleared on the site, something like that.
Yes.
Okay, now, it is a norm. It is a norm. I am touched by the fact you're saying we see it as normal to have a governor protected with bodyguards, to have a treasure protected bodyguards.
That's right.
How about our kids?
That's
Right.
it. Exactly
I like
right,
that.
Jack.
I
Exactly.
do agree that. I do agree with that. And it really, you have me touched. You have me impressed, right? In your mind, in my friend Bob's mind, we shall treat our kids like a governor. Because in future, who knows, right? Otherwise, anyway, right?
They're
Okay,
all
now-
governors.
And of course, we can't afford each single one of them a bodyguard. How about a bodyguard for school?
That's right.
So we need, once in your office, you will consider that?
Absolutely. You know, there's contracts with a lot of different schools.
I've been asking you to make promises so many times already.
Well,
Here
I'll tell
comes
you.
another one.
You know what? For free,
For
$1
free.
a year, we have reserves. $1 a year. The current sheriff got rid of a lot of the reserves. But you know what? Reserves have special hearts.
You will motivate them.
Of course. You know how many people are out there that would love to protect our children?
Yeah.
You know how many people would love to protect a church?
Once again, like Tom said, Tom E., the former detective of LASD, he says, once that mobilized, you will save lots of task forces and the number of employees. And without, you have to do a lot. So now you say $1 a year, those volunteers will volunteer themselves to protect the kids. And that's a way out.
Of course
That's the way
it is.
out.
That's just one way we can do it. That's just one way.
I see. So, my dear audience, my lovely audience, especially if you happen to be somebody's parents, if you have kids in school, and you would love to hear that, because once my friend Bob is in office, and school shall have the kind of security guard with weapon.
Well, we need
armed security. What's your term? Armed security guard?
Well, they're not security guards. Reserves would work for the sheriff's department. But those are things, Jack, that we have to get permission from the school, and there's all sorts of rules
of course.
and regulations.
You have to. You will push that way.
Of course.
You will push that way.
Absolutely. Look, I have 5 grandbabies. 5.
All right, you're.
All girls.
They will keep you busy.
They go to different schools. You know what? When there's a call that a school is getting attacked, I am going to go, oh my God, is it one of those 5 schools?
Yeah.
And I will hope and I will pray that there's somebody there really fast.
Yeah.
If they're already there,
That's quite natural. Yeah.
then they don't have to come. They're already there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. That makes huge sense. That makes huge sense. All right. And of course, you want to get those ones who are willing to protect, right? Who are willing to, if necessary, there's a sacrifice you're talking about.
You know what? Bad people are cowards. And if they know that there's armed guards at this school, they won't go there. You know where they're going to go? Where there's somewhere where there's not.
The unguarded,
That's right.
unguarded area or schools or whatsoever.
Or the mall or wherever it is, or a park where there's nobody there that can stop them.
All right. My dear audiences, time has changed a lot. We never had this many problems like we have now. And it looks like we have problems, freeways, the regular way, normal way. Number 2, we have the AB 109 early release, the bad guys on the street. Number 3, which is the worst case, that we have this frequently happening terrorist attacks. At this very moment, my friend Bob Lindsay volunteers to go in to take the job, to do a better job, to guard the community, LA as a county. So we got to give him a warm welcome, and we got to give him a huge support, I believe.
Yes, thank
So
you.
my audience is, if you want to, is there a website?
Yes, there is.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, Bob, B-O-B, the number 4, Sheriff, SHERIFF.com. So
Just
Bob, the number 4, Sheriff.
Just for sheriff. Bob for sheriff.
Bob for Sheriff.
That's
it.
easy to remember. Bob for sheriff. My dear friend, I'm getting excited because we're about to get a new sheriff.
Yeah.
All right, good. So I'm very, very super appreciative for the tips that have been provided by Bob. And yet, by the way, we're not just talking about it for the purpose of doing the show. actually, I will be actually scheduling a forum
Yes.
with my friend Bob for community members to come here to EDI, to G&E Studio, and we will have the team of Bob to come over here to share with you about the tips, one by one, how you want to save yourself.
I look forward to that.
Very good. Thank you very much. It's a promise. It's not just a say. It's promise. Thank you very much, my dear friends, for watching. And to Bob, thank you for sharing.
Thank you very much.